What's up, everybody? Tom Pelissero with Phil Mackey here at Target Field. Chicago Cubs take the series finale today from the Twins, 8-2. Another series win, though, for the Twins, Phil. Interesting to see you rolling out a piece today at 1500ESPN.com about sort of the philosophical shift in terms of looking for power pitchers in the draft. And I was also there when you talked to Terry Ryan today. Interesting to listen to Terry, but also look at in action, how they went about trying to get more of those power pitchers and see in the direction it seems like they're trying to go.
Yeah, well, they took 13 players in the first 10 rounds. 9 of those 13 players were pitchers, and most of those pitchers throw fastballs that start in the 93 to 95 mile an hour range and touch 97, 98. Now, a few of these guys, like Luke Bard, for instance, Mason Melitakis, the 4th round pick, they're relief pitchers. And so if a guy's throwing 96 miles an hour out of the bullpen, if he stretches out to become a starter, does he now throw 92 or 93? But when you look at pitchers in baseball in this era, the last 5 or 6 years, starting pitchers who strike out almost a batter an inning or better, we're talking the Cliff Lees of the world, even the Scott Bakers. Baker is usually around 7 or 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. There's specific qualities that they have, whether it's difference between fastball and changeup velocity or difference between slider and fastball velocity. And the only pitchers in this organization, at the big league level anyways, or in AAA, that really have strikeout qualities are Francisco Liriano, Scott Baker, who's out with Tommy John surgery and will be a free agent. And that's basically it. I mean, even Scott Diamond, who's been the ace of this staff for the last 2 months, he's going to rely more on getting ground balls and pitching to contact, and that ERA is going to eventually rise at some point. So that's what they did in the draft. They went out, they targeted guys who they know throw hard, who can tally strikeouts, but it remains to be seen in 4 or 5 years if they pan out. But more on 1500ESPN.com.
It's certainly interesting to watch Francisco Liriano and continuing to sort of find his way. For the first 5 innings, though, I don't know that there was a whole lot that Liriano... It didn't ever seem like he was out of control of the game. Eventually, though, they got to him today.
Yeah, 5 innings, fantastic stuff. We've seen him now up until the 6th inning anyways, against the A's, Royals, and now the Cubs. 3 bad teams. Now, the Royals actually have a really good offense, or at least a formidable offense, and the pitching's been their Achilles heel. But regardless of who he's faced, and the numbers are going to say 4 earned runs and 5 2/3, but if you're an opposing scout for the Orioles, for a team like the Blue Jays, a team that's maybe contending right now, the Mets might be in the market for a pitcher, a team that's in contention, maybe didn't expect to be in contention, needs a boost to get over a team like the Rays, or in the NL, maybe a team like the Nationals. If you're looking at adding pitching in the next month and a half before the deadline, Francisco has definitely been a lot better in these last 3 outings. His slider is biting. He's got better command of the fastball, which is his biggest problem. In fact, heading into the start against Oakland, when he came back into the rotation, only a couple pitchers, I want to say 3 or 4 pitchers, had thrown fewer pitches in the strike zone than Francisco. And Jason Marquis was one of those guys, too, who just couldn't find the strike zone.
Well, I think he threw more balls than strikes in like his first 4 or 5 starts of the season, too.
Yeah, which is obviously not how you're going to... If you're a strikeout pitcher, you're probably not going to strike many guys out when you start 3-1 every time.
So Liriano is a guy who certainly I would think would be on the trading block based on where he is in terms of contractually, and also the fact that these guys have seen all the warts on Francisco Liriano. As much as you may be looking from the outside in and saying this guy still has all those tools, the Twins are aware of how much you have to ride the roller coaster with Francisco Liriano, and maybe coming into a situation where he's on a team for 2 months trying to help a contender. That's exactly what they need. Is there anybody that you would not stick out there on the trading block as we come up to the trade deadline, which still here is, 6-7 weeks away?
Well, Josh Willingham is an interesting case because he's off to a torrid start, and he's always been a good power hitter the last half decade or so. But he's getting on base at over a 40% clip. He's hitting for batting average. He's hitting in the 280 to 290 range. But he's signed to a really team-friendly contract. I know he's 33 years old, and he's signed to a 3-year deal, $7 million a year. So the question is, do you look at that deal and say that he's maybe your most valuable trade piece, and you can trade him before he gets into the 34, 35 age range? Or do you look at him and say, well, this is a middle-of-the-order power hitter that we have under team control for the next 2.5 years at $7 million a year? I think because you have a $100 million payroll, it's easier to get back into contention if you make a couple decent trades here, and if Liam Hendricks pans out, if Ben Revere keeps hitting well, to where you maybe want to hold on to Josh Willingham. If you could trade from your surplus, which is outfield, and Denard Span is the one with the most team-friendly contract there, I would rather trade, if I'm the Twins, Denard Span than Josh Willingham, just because you already have a couple guys like Span. If Joe Benson gets back at some point, if Aaron Hicks gets up here, you've got Ben Revere in the mix. So I just think it's harder to find in this organization the skill set that Josh Willingham provides as opposed to what Denard Span provides.
Do you get the sense that Jim Pohlad is watching that side of the baseball operation closely? Because as much as organizationally it might be the right move at some point to deal, say, a Justin Morneau for a package of guys where Justin Morneau is 31 years old. He signed, I believe, through next season. He had all sorts of injury issues. I would say, absolutely, if you're able to get the right package of picks, you move that guy. At the same time, the Twins are hemorrhaging what? 5,000 fans a game so far. They've dropped from, I think, 4th to 12th in attendance. I would think that's a significant concern on the business side. If all of a sudden you sell on a Josh Willingham midseason, the one guy that fans are still staying in their seats to watch his at-bats, there is a component to that. As much as you want to make the right move as a scout from a baseball perspective, I'm sure there's a business perspective at play.
And there is, and you're right about the business perspective, but the front office has to be thinking 5 years down the road. You can't just be thinking, well, if we keep Willingham and Morneau and keep the core together, well, maybe we can win 82 games. 82 games might put more butts in the seats because fans might hold out hope longer this season. But if you're still 7 or 8 games back near the All-Star break and once you get into July, if Justin Morneau, if a team like the Orioles or any team that needs an extra body to get over the hump to beat teams that are currently better than them in their divisions, if Morneau brings back a boatload of talent, then I think you have to strongly consider trading him. That being said, if you're going to trade him for 50 cents on the dollar, it might make more sense once you get into his contract year next year, and he's going to be 31, 32 years old. Maybe you look at extending him. If you know he's going to be healthy, maybe you extend him for, instead of $14 million, you extend him for $7 or $8 or $9 million. And
do you take that risk on a guy with that age with his injury issues?
Well, if he gets through all of this season with no more injuries, and you get into next season again, and he's healthy throughout the offseason, then it's been almost 2 years since he's had a significant injury, and if you can get him for, like I said, a lot less than $14 million, the only way I would present that scenario is if you can't get anything in a trade for him. If you're going to trade him for 50 cents on the dollar, it might make more sense just to hold on to him, is what I'm saying.
Are you sweating as much as I am right now? It's really warm in this room.
You are a little,
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to pass out. We probably should stop this.
You're used to the football weather.
I shouldn't drink coffee throughout a game when it's 90 degrees and the windows are open.
It was a dramatic game today, too. The Twins put a couple guys on down 8-0.
45-minute ninth inning.
Can't blame me for sweating.
He's Phil. I'm Tom. Full Twins coverage, as always, at 1500ESPN.com. See ya.